All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Astrological Coffee Talk with Eric. And I actually had coffee today because I've still been dealing with, I feel like I want to say allergies, but still remnants of the flu, and definitely feeling way better. Well, we've got a very special coffee talk because today we're talking about the transit of Saturn in Aries, which begins right around the corner next Friday night when we have our next coffee talk and talk about the Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries, which is on the 20th. But this Saturn enters Aries on the 13th of February. And it will be a 2.5 year transit. That's what Saturn is. And it's going to be to April 12th, 2028. Saturn, the planet of limits, delays, restrictions, discipline, government, authorities, bones, your lineage, karma, time. It's about being organized, structured, and hard work. And when you have Saturn in Aries, right, it's a contradiction, it's a contradiction to energy because Aries is in its fall in Saturn. Aries is ruled by Mars. It's assertive, aggressive, the competitive athlete. It's the soldier, the warrior. It's initiating. It's accident prone. It moves quick and fast. It's like the baby of the zodiac. It can be very immature. So when Aries is in Saturn, the greatest lesson is to learn to slow down, to think before you react, to not be impulsive, to not give up. Remember, Aries is the masculine cardinal fire sign. It initiates, but it doesn't always complete the task or the assignment. That's for the goat, Capricorn. Capricorn sees the long game. So Aries is now in Capricorn ruled sign. And hold on. Sorry. I didn't know if Dad needed to jump in or not, but I'm gonna stay away. So Saturn, it's really a tough placement, and the reason why Saturn's at home in Capricorn and Aquarius, it's exalted in Libra. So the opposite of Libra, the sister sign is Aries. So that's where it's in its planetary fall, and I'm just still keeping an eye on the chat. So I'm gonna bring up the chart, and we will look at that. It's 7 p.m. Eastern in New York, New York, a little after 7 p.m. Eastern. And, well, as you can see, yeah, it's 7:12 p.m. Eastern. Okay, and this is February 13th, so it'll be 4:12 p.m. Pacific. And the chart is a Virgo rising. So we're going to start from this base point and just talk about the chart and the energy. If you have questions, please interject and ask. And also, I want to open things up for you guys, for your own interpretation too. So when we're looking at a transit, this is a snapshot of when exactly Saturn entered into Aries. Okay, and immediately it is going to be conjunct Neptune. The exact conjunction's on the 20th. And so that creates a whole new chart and a new energy of those two planets coming together. Okay, so you take a snapshot of that, and that tells you the story of that transit. Now, that transit of the two, it's only till the April 12th, 2028, because then Saturn will be gone. Okay, but this, just like we did with Neptune and Aries, that was for the whole transit till 2039. Okay, and this one today is till to 2028. One thing about Saturn coming in with Neptune gives Saturn a different twist that I think will soften some of the blow for the collective energy. But there's nothing to fear, and this is why it's good to understand and learn astrology. Now, we do want to look at the chart ruler, right? We're talking about Virgo rising, so it's Mercury. It's still Aquarius season, but I thought this was fascinating right off the bat. The chart ruler Mercury is in Pisces along with Venus and the North Node in the seventh house, right? The descendant. But what's fascinating, the sun and moon are both in the rulers of Saturn. You see this, right? The Aquarius sun in the 6th house and the Capricorn moon in the 5th house. So, okay. So there's a lot of interesting energy, a lot of interesting energy about the external sun, the I am vitality, confidence energy, and the internal emotional moon, body health, intuition, both being in Saturn ruled signs. Okay. So when we're starting off looking at this energy, we have to think about the 8th house. And mainly we're going to focus on aspects because this is for every chart. But at this time, we see the sun in Aquarius squaring Uranus and Taurus. Okay. So we're dealing with a fixed square of higher consciousness, extreme weather, things that are chaotic, unpredictable with Uranus. Taurus, that's our resources, our food supply, financial stuff. Okay. So just know when Saturn comes in, it's setting in a new beginning. And at that 0 degrees, that spark, right, it's the most potent at 0 and 29 when it's first coming in and when it's going out. And having this sun square Uranus, this tells us that there could be a lot of things about our precious metals, a lot of things. And remember, this Saturn is in the 8th house, okay, which is other people's resources, the IRS, the stock market, right? We hear these rumors, oh, this is the last year of the IRS and the stock market. I mean, not the stock market, but the IRS, right? And then they're having Bitcoin and crypto and all that stuff going on the stock market. We are going through a slow process and change of digital, stable coins, right? And so the fiat currency, the paper dollar, is disappearing. And so we're seeing it in other countries and the ill effects of it. Some may be positive, some may be negative. But, a lot of people are concerned that it creates a financial enslavement. If every purchase is monitored and it's on your phone, and people say, oh, well, it's already like that now. Yes, to a degree it is, but we still have cash. You can still tip somebody cash. You can still give a homeless person a $5 bill. What happens when you can't do that anymore? When everything is digital, when everything is monitored, when everything is based on a digital USD stable coin. And Saturn, Neptune in 8th house is cementing in, right, a new beginning, right? Think about, what did Saturn just do? It just went through all 12 signs. It just finished up its cycle. So it's starting again at Aries. And so this energy of bringing in and cementing in a new beginning, a new reality, it's asking us as a collective where we're going to have to be self-reliant, right? We're going to have to be more independent, and we're going to have to be a part of a new reality. And a lot of that we see because even with the sun being Aquarius in this 6th house for the Virgo rising, this is speaking to being of service to humanity, of looking out for the animals, the disabled people, just everybody, right? This is a time where, we are really, as I tell you, right, like pinky toe in the water and the beach. We're not in the age of Aquarius yet. That transition from the Piscean age to the age of Aquarius is like a 400-year transition. So, we're really just getting to the beach and, our toes are touching the wet sand. We're not there yet. But we are the brave souls that are here to kind of bring in this bridge of this transition. Okay. And when you have Saturn in Aries in 8th house, one thing that is really relevant, and the Neptune is, remember, film and photography. we're going to get more clarity because what is the eighth house? Power, control, sex, the occult knowledge. We're going to learn more about these secret societies, these sex cults, the trafficking, the SAs, the grapings, all this foolishness. It's going to be coming more to the light, right? Neptune, Aries, right? This is bringing in this new beginning where we're going to start to see more, right? I mean, I haven't looked through all of it, but you just see little clips of the Epstein files, and there's pictures, and you're seeing pictures of kids and this and that, right? It's very disturbing. And, the main thing is to not focus on that, right? Because the question that we'd have to ask ourselves, if we're being honest, is why now, right? They're revealing it now, but nobody's getting arrested. So what's the purpose, right? And part of it is Pluto Aquarius and the age of Aquarius. It's time for truth and revelation. So things cannot be staying in the dark anymore and hiding. But when you do have Saturn in the eighth house, just as a little separate note, it can really speak to kind of like dark karmic, sex stuff. And then with Neptune, it's like it can be like really, really bad because Neptune, you guys, is addiction. It's deception, illusion, confusion, right? And when you're having it conjunct Saturn in Aries in eighth house, and then you got Ceres there in the Chiron wound, right? So these are collective wounds. And I already told you, Aries is what? The baby. So when you put that all together, it's quite clear. I don't want to just focus on that, but it's quite clear that, there is this new reality and new revelation where people are not really saying, oh, conspiracy theorists anymore, because now they're the ones that were saying it. Now they're seeing like, oh my God, like this stuff is true and it is real, right? So this is new for some people, what's being revealed right now. And for a lot of people, they're kind of like, yeah, I told you so. But for us in this transit and this energy, this Capricorn moon, right, we have to play the long game with our emotions. There is about teaching and building the legacy, right, with our children. The fifth house is our heart chakra, speculative gains, right? This tells you right off the bat, we have got to focus on building our own structures, our own businesses, being self-reliant. Remember years ago, we talked about this before when Andrew Wang had floated out that basic income. Well, that's something that may be coming. And, unfortunately, part of the checkmate and trap is to have you, if the power goes out, to be able to, only way to be able to barter and trade and get back in the system is with a digital ID and a code so that, they know every time you log into the internet, right? So, we're in an interesting time, but this is a time of independence and freedom and sovereignty, right? So we have to kind of figure out what that means for us. And then having the sun debilitated in Aquarius, it makes us realize we can't do this alone, right? So with Saturn and Aries being this tribal leader and warrior, but it's also learning with the conjunction to Neptune to have the compassion and empathy, right? To dissolve the restrictions and limitations. That also means that we're not here to do this alone. We have to be, self-reliant and self-acceptant, right? And become more sovereign and independent. But Aquarius, Mars, Pluto, and your daily routine, Mars is in a planetary joy in the sixth house. We have got to find our people, our tribes, right? That's why we have the tribe online, but also in your local communities in person, right? We're seeing this Virgo rising, Scorpio third house, right? And the Lilith is there. We've got to intuitively find out what's Scorpio about, who you can trust, loyalty, And this is 29 degree, very empathic energy, right? And what is it? It's opposing the Uranus in Taurus. So this this directly speaks to what I was referring to earlier, things about the financial market. Scorpio Taurus is all about money and health, your values, your self-worth, your possessions, your resources, your money, your bank, right? Scorpio is health and money. And when you're seeing Uranus opposing Lilith, right, it's telling a story, but it's a fixed T-square because who else is here? The Aquarius sun. Okay, you see that? And so that means when you see the T-square, the Uranus and Lilith, they're opposing each other, and then they're both kind of like, after they have their conversation, then they both go to the Aquarius sun, right? And so that is about freedom and liberation. That is about everybody getting a slice of vegan pizza and some kombucha. That is about, everybody thinking outside the box, connecting to the AI and the technology. It's not going anywhere. So what we've got to do is learn it so that we can integrate it to be a benefit and avoid it being something that controls us and enslaves us, right? There's a difference, right? You can't stick your head in the sand, right? It's the same thing, remember, with the whole dot-com boom and people like, oh, this whole internet thing, da 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 da. Well, and the bubble bursted, but the internet didn't go away. Well, it's the same thing with the AI and the cryptocurrency. Yeah, there's some hiccups and Bitcoin went to a record low and this and that or whatever, but they're not going anywhere, right? And now there's rumors that the crypto may have been started by Epstein and stuff and all this stuff, and people are like, oh my gosh, right? So, I mean, the reality is you are going to experience and hear and deal with a lot of Uranus, Lilith, T-squaring Aquarius, sudden events, a lot of weird, bizarre things. But this transit is to let you know that Saturn, Neptune, you're going to see through the veils and the deceptions of the FBI, CIA, IRS. We're already doing that, right? You're going to see the importance of connecting to the esoteric occult knowledge, the crystals, the herbs, the syllogy, the burdock root, the sea moss, the this, the that, the minerals, the gems. All that is the eighth house, right? And Saturn, Neptune, Saturn is really kind of letting you know that when you are organized and structured and you think before you react, you can cement and start a new reality, a new sovereignty, a new independence, a new beginning in ways that you haven't before. This is different from 29 years ago because Pluto's in Aquarius, right? This is different from 29 years ago because we were cemented still in the Piscean age, right? We know energetically our planet is changing. The light codes, the solar flares, these are recorded. This isn't spiritual woohoo, this is science, that the Schumann resonance is continuously been increasing since 2020. And, having these sun corona blasts, it's affecting Gaia Mother Earth, but it's also affecting our DNA, right? This is why we were supposed to be inside at that time, because they didn't want us getting these upgrades, these up levelings. It's time for us to realize really who we are and all of our gifts. And Saturn, Neptune, eighth house, you're going to be tapping into more gifts. So this can also activate psychic mediumship, right? This is where you're going to see a movement back to doulas, deaf doulas, midwives, right? Less and less people are going to the ER. Eighth house, emergency sudden events, right? Neptune, Saturn, we're dissolving the fallacy of the authorities. The authority is Gaia, Mother Earth, and nature. The authority is God. The authority is you, not the structures and systems. So I don't think it's an accident that the sun is in Aquarius and the moon is in Capricorn, because the Capricorn moon is ready for this assignment. Yes, Saturn Aries, I'm stepping up to put in the discipline and hard work, right? That Benjamin Button effect. That Capricorn moon is like, yeah, it'll take me a while, but I'll process these emotions, but then I'll become more youthful and I'll be able to handle everything that I need to. And it's a very creative moon. That's also why it's in the fifth house. Okay. Other interesting aspects. I mean, the T square is really powerful. The part of fortune's in the second house. When you're dealing with the south node on the ascendant, there's still a lot of purging and detoxing that we need to do, right? And this also speaks to me in the sense that it's not just about this Aquarius, Mars, Pluto, Sun, sixth house, service to humanity, but first service to self. I can't help Gail and Quintella or help my wife and kids if I'm not taking care of Eric first. So what's the first house? Your aura, your physical appearance, your outer mass. The south node has no direction. It wants things to be spiritual, but it also will purge, release, cut, detox. So you've got to elevate your first eye, your third eye, your aura. And a lot of that is by getting out the toxin, like even what we were talking about last night, right? Getting your liver together, detoxing, fasting, being healthier. This chart is really, really speaking to, like almost like a survivor's guide, right? To walk into this new world. And the seventh house with the other half, you're dealing with your contracts, negotiations, your spouses, business partnerships. Venus Pisces, agape Christ-like love, Book of Ephesians. North Node Pisces, more compassionate, empathetic, but your spiritual practice with the other half. And the Mercury, right? Well, sorry, the Venus here first, then the Mercury. This Mercury in Pisces is letting us know we're not going to even notice time anymore. It's an illusion. It's not linear. Mercury is going to be in Pisces, right? Literally from today to like April 10th. It's a long time, but it's here for these big transits to kind of like prepare you guys to realize that Gregorian calendar, who cares? What year we're in? Well, different religions and belief systems have us in different years. The Ethiopian calendar, they got us in 2018, right? The Jewish calendar is what, like 5787. This other calendar is 20 this and that. I mean, so Mercury in Pisces, don't worry about the time, right? The time is for love. Venus Pisces, it's love time. We've got to love on one another to be able to maneuver, right, through these illusions and obstacles. Neptune, Saturn, it's going to, that also dissolved the Great Wall of China, right, in 89, remember? Or was that which wall went down in 89? Was that I think it was the China. Yeah, I think that was the one in China. But it's also dissolving the illusion of these authorities. Let's be honest, right? Nobody really sees or trusts the government, the FBI or CIA anymore, because there's too much confusion. There's too much stories. Now, I want to open it up to any questions, but let me just go back and check the chat to see if anybody is trying to log in. And no. So any questions or thoughts so far before we start to look at the other ascendants?
Yeah, Eric.
Yes.
One question. In your video that you sent with the notification,
Yeah.
you made some kind of reference, I can't remember exactly, to the placements of these planets on the above the ascendant, above the
Horizon line?
the horizon line versus below. Could you expand a little bit on that?
Sure. Okay. So here's an example for this chart, right? The ascendant is in Virgo and the sun is in the 6th house. So that's below the horizon line.
Right.
So this is a what we call a night chart. So for the night chart, the moon team takes over. And so the great benefic would be Venus. So that means the love that we have for the others and the other half, agape Christ-like love, is going to be really benefic and beneficial for us during this transit. And then Saturn is the great malefic. So the restrictions that are going to be tried to be placed on us by the digital ID and digital currencies is going to be kind of strong, right? This new reality, this new beginning. No, you can't do this anymore. You got to go to a 15-minute city. That type of stuff, right? And remember the night squad is the moon, Venus, and Saturn. This is why I theorize and say in a lot of astrology, it makes sense that like Libra is exalted in Saturn because Venus, Saturn, and the moon, they're on the night squad. So if this sun was not in Aquarius, and let's say the sun was up here in Aries, then it would be a day chart. And that would make Jupiter over here in Cancer the greater benefic, right? So we would look at that as like really positive. Oh, you're going to get the bag, extreme wealth, you know, connecting with internet and this and that. And then it makes Mars the greater malefic, which would be here in a 6th house in his planetary joy. And it'd be like, oh, people, you know, in their daily routine, they're going to be a lot of fights and arguments, and people will be fighting over technology and fighting over, you know, time on their phone or digital ID, you know, whatever it is, right? So that's the whole thing with the horizon line. It's a day chart or a night chart.
Okay.
So just always remember the day squad is Jupiter and Mars, and the night squad is Venus and Saturn.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So any thoughts or any questions even on this fixed T-square? Uranus, Lilith, and Aquarius Sun. You know, one thing I just realized about that is that yeah, there's going to be a lot more scandals and stuff coming out. This is just the beginning. And what we have to kind of be ready for is the big disappointment of no consequences for the people that are authorities. But this is why there's been a big movement of a lot of people getting off of TikTok and going to Upscroll or this and that or whatever. I haven't made any changes yet, but you know what I mean? Because this could very well clearly show that, you know, a lot of scandal can just come from the technology and the internet, you know. So be mindful what you're putting into chat GBT. Be mindful what you're saying over social media and stuff like that, because you know Lilith and Scorpio, that can show some of the sexual scandal, but it's also about truth and power, right? And that low vibration of the Scorpio can be like revengeful, manipulating. And Uranus Taurus, you know, it's not officially designated, but Uranus being at home in Aquarius, it's kind of like pseudo exalted in Scorpio and kind of like in a planetary fall in Taurus, which is why if you're honest and you're calculating and thinking since 2018, it has been hashtag New Earth. It seems like we've had more natural disasters, more, especially in America, more issues with our food supply, from Texas to Ohio to this and that, oil spills, this. I mean, it's just been more recalls of food. That's Uranus Taurus. It's textbook. And so I want you to get that as it gets closer to April 25th and gets to that 29th degree, This is going to be a very interesting spring for growing food, harvesting. You may hear reports like, oh, commodities are this, and oh, we don't have that. And, yesterday the stock market just hit a record 50,000 or whatever for the first time ever, right? But we're going to see big fluctuations and changes, right? You're even seeing with JP Morgan, right? They own most of the silver, the gold prices, platinum, tin. You know, this is where people are going to have to make their own, right? Saturn, Neptune, Aries, their own sovereign, independent decisions. What is best? What are the best resources for myself and my family? Should I just have my money in traditional bank, or should I have some cash, have some crypto, have some precious metals, have, some artwork, like diversifying, and that's the only recommendation that I clearly see or have astrologically and personally, is to diversify, because there's no stability or guarantees in any one thing, right? And we talked about that with Portia Cooper, at the tribe and stuff like that. So I want to start going around to the other ascendants. Any questions just looking at this chart? And then we'll kind of go, we'll go around and start with the Leo rising and work our way around. Any thoughts on Saturn and Aries, or any questions? Also, let me just say this to you guys. This does increase arthritis, migraine headaches, rheumatoid arthritis. So the fact that it's in the eighth house, it's letting me know we're going to have to start using these minerals and herbs a little bit more to help us with these type of issues or remedies. You know what I mean? Doing things like acupuncture, doing
Wow.
like
That explains.
yes.
Wow. Which house you talking about? The eighth house?
Yeah, Saturn and Aries in the eighth house.
Yeah.
But wherever
Okay.
it's at, it can create that body aches. Also, even feeling migraine headaches, warmth on your head, rheumatoid.
I've had a couple of family members contact me recently about they never had any problems, significant problems, but the joint pain,
Yes.
asking me, well, what can I, because none of the over the counter stuff is working anymore
No, 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 no.
for them. So I said, let me take a crack at it.
Yeah.
I'm working on a couple of formulations based on the essential oils that I have,
Oh, good.
and try to put together something like more in a salve kind of a thing,
Yeah.
um,
Awesome.
to help them out. But I was like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, if you mention that,
And the eighth
um,
house would be connected, Janice, to like the essential oils.
okay.
So, that's where, think of what Neptune, okay, so one thing that's really powerful, Neptune, right? Neptune is to dissolve the Saturn's authority and the structures, the walls, right? And so one thing that you said, it's not working anymore. It
Hmm.
won't, because we are literally going through a spiritual and uh, DNA
Yes.
cellular upgrade.
Right.
So the Western medicine is not going to work. That's why I was determined this time around. The last 2 years in the spring, when I got like bad, like whatever it was, allergies, whatever, I was just like, I was wheezing in the lungs. And since COVID, since I almost died, I was just like, okay, I got a Z-Pack. I'm still wheezing right now. I still feel like crap. I mean, I feel good, but I mean, I still got a lot of, mucus or whatever, but I'm not, I'm like, I'm not doing a Z-Pack.
You doing any nebulizing, Eric?
No, no
Using a
nebulizing.
nebulizer?
No, no. I've
No.
been I've been doing a lot of the oregano, um just a lot of different things. But what's so crazy, I'm really missing my acupuncturist. but he's been sick too for the last week, so I didn't see him. I normally see him on Wednesdays. I didn't see him last week or this week. But a lot of different
Mm.
herbal teas and the black seed oil, oregano oil. But that's what I want you guys to exactly what you just said. That was so perfect. And Neptune is the pharmaceuticals. So
Right.
Aries is a new beginning. What used to work, it's not gonna work anymore, right? These cough medicines, these things, I mean, they never really worked anyway. They suppress things, but they're not fixing anything. And then at the
Yeah.
same time, you got to wind up cleansing out your gut after you use, you know, what do they say? Antibiotics stay in your body for like 6 months to a year afterwards.
Yeah.
It's something crazy. So it, 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 it's not, it was never the real good solution anyway. Let's just say that. It was never the best solution. Okay. So let's go to Leo risings, because for the Leo rising, this Saturn in Aries, right? It's going to go up here to the ninth house. And so this is about kind of cementing in new realities and new beginnings about your beliefs, your philosophies. Saturn Aries, this is where people may go back to school or decide to become the teacher or the professor, but you may decide to start teaching. This is Saturn in the ninth house. We can get into mentorship. So for Leo risings, this can be, mentoring new beliefs, new philosophies, right? Teaching people survival or guides to travel. This could, for Leo risings, right? And they like to move. This could restrict travel a little bit, you know? The one thing that you may start to see, though, with Saturn and the fact that it's right next to the Neptune, is where there could become a new appreciation for, because Neptune represents the culture. Remember, I told you Neptune and Pisces since 2011. Culturally, we had Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all these cultural things develop because Neptune engulfs the collective, right? It's the spiritual realm, the ether. So with Saturn, Neptune, in Leo in the ninth house, I mean, for Leo rising in the ninth house, this is where there could be things around um, more film festivals, international, and Leos are getting involved in, or creative endeavors, new types of books talking about sovereignty and independence, survival books, things like that. So, Leo risings have to, definitely pay attention to, um, you know, them even having new opportunities in foreign lands. And this could just be 50 miles further away from home. You decide, like, I'm leaving Minnesota and I'm moving to North Carolina. I'm leaving New York and I'm going to Texas or, whatever. But those are types of things that Leo risings may and can experience. But just remember the Saturn, it's in Aries, and the ninth house is your hips and thighs and liver. So this is important to move your physical body. Okay? We're not being impulsive. We're not over initiating. The thing about Saturn Aries, the key to maneuver is to slow down. And when you see the obstacles, smile and laugh at them and just know, I'm not stopping, I'm pushing through. Because that's the karmic lesson, you guys, right? Saturn is teaching you, you can't act all Aries like over here. You got to slow down, have a plan, be organized, think before you react. Aries don't got time to think. Aries is about doing. They're like Capricorn and Aquarius. You over there thinking and contemplating. I already finished the assignment. That's not going to work right now. So Aries, Sun, Moon, Risings as a collective are going to have to really slow down. So Cancer risings, right? You're going to have the Saturn in the 10th house. So, for the Cancer risings, this is about different things in your career and the government, cementing different things, relationships with dad. Saturn, Neptune, this is where it may reveal to you in your job, the government, your father, that that you're seeing through the veils of the authority, that this authority is not something that you want to be under anymore. You may want to change your careers. You may decide that, you know what, I'm going to find ways to dissolve my attachment to the system and the structures and the governments. But Neptune Saturn, this can also bring in a new discipline where maybe you are becoming the filmmaker. Maybe you're deciding to start your podcast or your, any creative endeavors. The one thing that we have to know about the Saturn and Aries is that it's going to bring us great rewards once we are slowing down, thinking before we react, and less impulsive, right? That's the whole point of Saturn coming Aries. This is like an up leveling for Aries. And think of that for anywhere it is in your chart in your house. So this will be potentially saying, you know what? There are no limitations. Go get the raise and the promotion. Go get the dream job. Create your own dream job, Cancer risings. Okay? So that's important to think about, especially with Saturn and Aries. Now, the Gemini risings, we're dealing with the 11th house. So, this is and remember, 10 and 11, just like 3 and 6, they develop over time. They take time to get better. The 11th house is extreme wealth. It's the actual president, vice president, Congress, Senate. This is hopes, dreams, and wishes. The internet, nonprofit, philanthropic, environmental work. Gold, long-term investments in the stock market. Your father's siblings and stepchildren. Saturn, Aries here. One of the things that you're going to realize is that you have got to show up, Gemini risings, as the tribal leader, right? You've got to show up as like, you know what, I'm a part of this group and this tribe, but I'm gonna step up and step out, right? And be, contribute my share, my independence, my leadership, right? What are the new beginnings? Because it's Saturn, Neptune, that, Gemini risings, this is where you can be creating things over the internet or courses or joining nonprofits or organizations or groups, right? That you're like, hey, we're going to start building homes for people, right? We're going to help military veterans, right? We're going to give back to people who were, injured or less than or abused, or even helping single mothers with children get started again, right? When you're dealing with the Saturn, but then the Neptune in the 11th house, this can get into big charitable nonprofits and organizations. But this is where you can get support from your social network. You just have to have the healthy boundaries, right? You got to watch out. This could reveal, Saturn for Gemini risings, some of the fake friends, the false structures. Okay? And that's not easy to experience. The 11th house is very deep because these people that are your social network or groups that you're a part of, if they turn against you, it doesn't feel good. I went through that with, groups of old friends during the pandemic. And I mean, I'm not going to beg nobody to be my friend, because I didn't do anything wrong to anybody, but it's like, like those are jarring things. So with Saturn and Neptune, it could be a little bit of reality check, like who's really got your back, and also, what creative endeavors, what new structures and disciplines are you going to implement in your life to reap the rewards of our hopes, dreams, and wishes, our extreme wealth, our gold, right? So that's important for Gemini risings, to have the boundaries, but to take charge and to initiate, okay? Now, the Taurus risings. we're dealing with the Saturn Aries in the 12th house. So Taurus risings, you know, you're gonna have this fixed T square with your first house, fourth and 10th. And this Saturn coming into your 12th house for the next 2.5 years, this is going to be like we were talking about last night. Get the pencil, get the notebook, get the dream book going. Make sure that you have a very disciplined routine for how you're going to bed at night. You're turning off your technology, airplane mode, this and that. You got your red carnelian or whatever on your crystal, your Aries crystals in the bed. You're meditating for 5-10 minutes. You're, doing this, you're doing that. You're putting your castor oil in your belly button, whatever it is, because Saturn wants you to implement these structures in the 12th house. It's your hidden talents. You are the sovereign independent leader as a Taurus rising, but you got to share that with the rest of the chart, right? And so with Saturn Aries there, this could restrict, you connecting to your higher self in your dreams. I think the Neptune being there will kind of prevent some of those restrictions. But this is why I'm saying you want to implement your healthy routine for going to sleep and praying and spiritually connecting, the sound frequencies, because that's going to help you better, not just better sleep and to heal, right? I even remember last night me was talking about like the different, the liver and the times, right? Getting to sleep between 10 and 4, that's when our organs are healing. That's why it's important to sleep between that time. You don't want to eat dinner at 9 o'clock and go to bed at 10:30, and when your organs are supposed to be restoring and healing and it's working for digestion. That doesn't serve you. So Taurus risings, this is going to be an important time to just make sure that these, little details are going to make your sleep game, because that's what 12th house is really about. I mean, we get in terms of like the bed pleasures, and stuff like that. I mean, it's just, it's Saturn Aries. It's like, just have healthy boundaries. Don't just have some stranger up in your bedroom that you can't trust. But you know what I mean? Like that's it's really about the spiritual realm. This can also bring in international business for a Taurus rising, doing things abroad and stuff like that. So now the Aries risings. Saturn on the ascendant, right? Obviously, we're coming in with the Neptune, the Ceres, the Chiron. But the one thing that's really important when you have Saturn on the ascendant, it's like it's almost like a spear going through the top of your skull to open up your crown chakra, and it's going to be like every move you make, you will get punished or rewarded based on how you are honoring Saturn when it's on your ascendant. If you are impulsive and move too fast, there's going to be karmic, debt to pay for that, right? If you're not having healthy boundaries and letting people just like touch your hair or get in your 6 feet auric field, right? Remember, Neptune's there. So people are trying to tell you, oh, you're so-and-so, you're this. They're trying to, because the Neptune will make you idealistic and unrealistic. The Saturn's the reality check. Like, no. Just because you saw fairies over there doesn't mean that person is nice. The fairies are there, but that's a house and a bunch of demons live there, right? Saturn's letting the Neptune like, no, like, listen, let's, chill out. Now it's only there to 2028. After that, like Aries risings, you're on your own. But, but, that's what Neptune can do. So it can make Aries risings extremely creative. And Saturn is saying, be disciplined. Whatever you choose to do, if you slow down and you implement your discipline and structures and focus on getting up, making your bed, take your time to eat, have your routine. Maybe you try the hot water, hot lemon water, your tea, this and that. Like, have that kind of routine to your I am energy. Grand rising here I am, right? Doing your practice. It's going to give you such blessings and rewards, Aries rising. It's this is actually really nice for you. And it's going to help you to deal with that Neptune transit to 2039 because you're not going to be seeing things so clearly with Neptune. And Neptune puts on the rose-colored glasses, right? Okay. Pisces rising. Before we go to Pisces risings, any questions so far with any of the signs? So I know we have a couple of Taurus and Gemini risings here. Anything you
I
got?
don't have any questions, but you provided me with so much clarity.
Oh, good. Yeah. With that Saturn there, yeah. You know,
It actually brought tears to my eyes because I think I told you before I had got the vision of a tiny house community.
mm,
And it's been in the back of my mind because for me, I'm like, well, how am I going to make that happen? I don't know. So it comes to the forefront every now and then.
yeah.
And then I just go, okay, well, there's nothing I can do right now. So that just provided me with so much clarity as to why I got that vision years ago for the tiny house community to provide affordable housing for people.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because what is that's exactly Saturn, the structures, the homes, and the Neptune, the compassion and empathy, right? It's a new beginning, a new way of building homes, a new reality. Saturn,
And then for
Neptune.
the situation we just went through, not knowing where we were going to live and
Yeah.
possibly being homeless. And I'm like, oh, what is happening?
Yeah, no, it can be very uplifting and scary. But understand it's preparing you for Uranus coming on the ascendant.
Okay.
So, this is, remember I told you that nobody could predict that and what it's going to do. And,
Yeah.
it's a lot of that was that Aquarius stellium is what you've been dealing with the last few weeks, but, this is really um, going to be, they all work together. So Saturn and Neptune coming into Aries, and then it's going to add another layer when Uranus comes into Gemini April 25th,
Hmm.
which they all added a layer to the Pluto Aquarius. What we're going through, you guys, is a time of masculine outer planet transits and energy because it's it's time to attack and initiate. And I don't mean attack like fighting in wars. I mean like it's time to get up, get out, and do something, right? And get something. Like we we have been lulled into with Neptune Pisces, this victim feeling sorry, this passive, this like, oh, just whatever they tell me and I accept it. Oh, this, da 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 rules and regulations for, Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok and this and Pinterest and cancel culture and this and that. Saturn and Neptune and Aries is like, no, we're going to create our own internet. We're going to create our own, this up scroll, forget TikTok and being caught up into these big conglomerates and these companies that own every, different attribute of media. This is what this is about. Saturn and Aries, and we're going to get to the Pisces rising, right? So it's in your second house. You know, this is creating a new music industry, a new Hollywood where nobody has to, sell their souls and be disrespected, with their family members or their bodies or anything like that anymore. It's coming. I'm not saying it's happening overnight, but these alignments are going to be, when you look back 5 years from now, you're going to see it was Pluto Aquarius. It was Uranus Gemini. It was Saturn Aries. It was Neptune Aries that has brought in this new self acceptance, self reliance, sovereignty, freedom, independence, right? We don't have to rely on things that are giving us one percentage of one crumb. That's a myth. And people are waking up to that fact that, you know, so what, everybody, even homeless people have cell phones. That's what makes us so passive, right? Because if we were righteous or sane in our minds, um, the collective consciousness would have come together to unify to stop all this and overthrow the structures and systems decades ago. But how do you do that when you've got a cell phone and you've got money and you've got food and you've got 3,000 channels to watch and give them cake, entertain them, right? That's the Roman circus. So, you know what I mean? Like, we're all busy being busy and distracted. But since 2020, like it's now crossed the threshold of your door. It's on your doorstep now, right? ICE, this, that, whatever, right? Different people, you know, it's on people's doorsteps. And it sucks that it takes that much to shake the cage and awaken people. And remember, I told you, have the compassion. There's still a lot of souls, even with all of this, who are still gonna be my government, my daddy, my CBS, ABC, NBC's, Fox, CNN, Wall Street Journal, MSNBC, and like, oh, yeah, no, things are just a little weird right now, but it's all, yeah, no, I'm still gonna go to get a Happy Meal from McDonald's for my kids or my grandkids. Some people are here to just be, NPCs and be stuck in the matrix. And that's okay. That's their decision for their soul. We don't, you know what I mean? So Pisces risings, this is Saturn in Aries in the second house. How you earn money, your speech, your intuition. So the Neptune there is opening up this new softening and creative where it's like, oh, I don't really care about money and this and that. Saturn in the second house is tough for Pisces risings. It brings in that karmic energy of like lack and restriction, around earning money and different things. So the key has got to be becoming more spiritual, more independent, more sovereign, and realizing that when you are disciplined and structured, it's like your keys to surviving the universal transit. That is going to be the biggest thing for the Pisces risings because you're still going to have the Venus, Mercury, and North node, right, on your ascendant. So it's about the self-love. It's about knowing Mercury's in its planetary joy there, that you're the messenger, and people are going to be looking to you, Pisces risings, for dispensing this spiritual reality and truth and a compassion. But then you've got to move, the bad boys move in silence. You got to move like real, like Jedi, like slow, intentional movements. Your speech has to be very precise and measured. Doesn't mean it doesn't have compassion, right? Doesn't mean you don't have the empathy and you still can't, dream the new way of earning money, dream the new system, the new intuition, the new reality. That Saturn is actually a 2.5 year little gift for you to kind of cement in new ways of also inspiring and leading your family. Second house is the values, the self-worth. So initiate the positive self-talk too. Not for 1 second do you say anything bad about yourself, Pisces risings. The universe doesn't want that for you anymore. Okay. Aquarius risings. We got Saturn, Neptune in your third house. So this is for the siblings, the local community, your skills and self-efforts. If you have kids, Saturn, Neptune, there could be some, issues with getting them to school or buses and this and that or whatever. But think about for yourself. This is your neighbors, your neighborhood. Having compassion for your neighbors, Saturn, Neptune, being able to see where, you know, I can initiate, like Quintella was talking about the tiny homes. Well, maybe you're initiating in the local community food, you know, little food courts, or, you know what I mean? I always say, right, if I've got the broccoli and the spinach and you got blueberries, strawberries, and we trade, we both got fruits and veggies. Well, Aquarius risings, these are things that you can implement in your local community, right? That there's this collective food court and everybody, you know, helps each other out. And that you're connected, you know, that all of a sudden the power goes out and it's been 2 weeks that somebody's checking on Miss Jones down the block because she's in a wheelchair and her kids live out of state. Simple things like that, you know what I mean? But it's also about your skills and self efforts, right? Slowing down, having healthy boundaries. I mean, the reality may come in, Aquarius risings, that you've got a sibling that is dealing with depression and escapism and a lot of narcissistic and drug and alcohol stuff. And so the Saturn may be coming in to show you that you got to have the healthy boundaries. Maybe in 2029, they're doing a little bit better with this, but you can't get pulled in to your cousin or your sibling's drama. You know, always the Neptune, compassion and empathy. But the Saturn is like you have to have the boundaries, and also watch the frustration with the lawnmower from the neighbor and the this and you're parking your car in front of my driveway. You know what I mean? You just want to make sure that we're not getting overly impulsive or overly aggressive for like an illusion. The Neptune can make seem things. He's doing that on purpose. He just put his cigarette out on my new lawn. What the heck? You know what I mean? Like, don't take everything so personal and stuff like that. You know, this is going to be interesting for Aquarius risings because it plays out in multi layers. But don't forget, this is always your neighbor and your neighborhood, the third house. And like I said, the realities with the siblings. Okay, Capricorn rising, this is your fourth house. Saturn in the fourth house till April 12th, 2028. Watch out for your Ruth. Saturn, I've seen bring in a lot of water damage in the fourth house, but it's in Aries. So you got to watch out for the heaters. You got to watch out for the kids cooking or just people cooking in the house, barbecuing, fires, meditating with your candles. Make sure you're very aware that you're blowing out any fire or candles or anything, turning off the gas. Yeah, it's not even a joke. It's very important. But Saturn Aries, it also could be stuff around the metal, the piping in your home. Okay, so just pay attention to that. But this also could be cementing some things with the legacy. Remember, because the Neptune is there, you may see your mom, if she's passed on, your grandma, your great grandma. You may see spirits, you may see ghosts or entities or different things. This is the hometown, the homeland, the emotional mind. But hopefully you're not like feeling like, oh, you know, I've got to go and join, you know, and maybe this is something that's positive for some people. Maybe Cap Rising's like, you know, I'm going to join the military. I'm going to go work for the government. Now, this could bring on a government job. This also could be a great time for reconstructing your home or getting involved in property management or real estate, even for a career. You know, you can cement a new business working at home for Cap Risings. And remember, the moon's on your ascendant. So, you know, with this energy, you're going to be feeling a little extra intuitive. And this transit is going to be very much very much about you being able to think outside the box in terms of how you're earning money. And so maybe you're going around and you're doing people's windows, you're volunteering to, you start working for a moving company, you're doing things with technology, you're, just a multitude of things because you're dealing with the Mars, Pluto, and the Sun in the second house. All right. So with this Saturn and Neptune and Aries in the fourth house, there could be a lot of things about movement, government, your roof, and your home and your property. Okay. So, Sagittarius risings. So we got the Saturn, Neptune in your fifth house. Now, what's interesting is we're dealing with the kids, right? We're dealing with your first child. We're dealing with your education, high school, college years, your creativity. But this is speculative gains, gambling, lottery, fantasy sports, Saturn, Neptune here. You may feel blocks to your creativity, but this is where the Neptune is going to make you feel very creative. The Saturn is going to say you can't create by just jumping in. The Saturn is saying the only way that your creativity is going to be successful, at least till 2028, because once the Saturn leaves and Neptune's just dancing there, you're going to be initiating everything. Like Sag risings will be like, oh, I'm selling candles. I made tarot cards. I did this. I did that. The Saturn is going to be like one thing at a time, be disciplined and structured. Make sure you're having healthy rules and boundaries for your children. Make sure with your dating life, right, that you are having healthy boundaries. You can't be like, oh, my kids went off to college and you're a single mom, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I'm back out there dating and this and that. And you got the Saturn Neptune, you're dealing with some people that are not worthy of being in a relationship with. Because the Neptune, you may not be seeing them clearly. So the Saturn is telling you to move slow, one step at a time. Have healthy boundaries, right? You don't tell anybody where you live and your address, right? You go meet at the coffee shop or you go meet at a little diner or a deli. So just little, real life, potential tips and things that could play out for you, Sag rising. But it's definitely important that the discipline, because this could really be creating like a new type of film, a new type of music, a new type of art, painting, sculpting, something that's, like really just pushing the envelope in a new way. Okay. Don't forget, you guys, Aries is the childhood genius. It's the pioneer maverick. Aquarius is the old sage wisdom genius. But that Saturn Aries, it's like it becomes the superpower. In this 2.5 year transit, if you take the time to put in the structure and the discipline and the hard work, oh, wow, Aries is going to create something that is so freaking amazing. That is like a new structure and a new system that we can continue to go forward with. So think about the implementation, that if you take the time to slow down in any house it's in, the house will tell you the theme, but the Saturn with the Neptune will tell you that it's around your spiritual practice, around spirituality, around your creative endeavors, around your heart and compassion, and around initiating, being self-reliant, self-accepted, and being a leader. Aries is not just impulsive and impatient and immature and a child. It's the sovereign soldier, leader, warrior. We need to initiate and assert like Aries. We need to be brave and courageous like Aries. This is how we survive. right? Some old Game of Thrones stuff, or what's that other, I don't know, it came out when I was in coma during the pandemic. I forgot the show. But you know what I mean? Like, this is what, Saturn Aries is to cement in. Like, we need you, Aries, whatever, house you're in, for all of us to implement and to slow down. So then what we design and build and the karmic lesson and reward, it's going to realize that, Aries, you don't have to do it alone. You got a team, you got support, you got love. So Scorpio risings, I know we got a couple here and on the replay or whatever, but we got the sixth house: work, health, daily routine, service to humanity, your pets, sickness, illnesses. Saturn here is like, okay, let's keep it real. You make a mess, clean it up right now, right? You got to be disciplined, your daily routine. Like, I played with this transit when it came in a few months back, right? And what I found with Saturn Aries, I was more disciplined in taking my proper breaks from working and doing my exercise routine and making sure I'm squatting every day. So for Scorpio risings, this Saturn in the sixth house, right? It can bring in some chronic pains. So definitely watch, what you're digesting and eating in the pancreas and even things around your head. But, and I say that also because Scorpio rules the sinuses. So Saturn, Neptune, Aries, sixth house, there could be some sinus or, headaches. Have a good routine of setting your alarm clock, keeping your schedule, Scorpio risings, and having healthy boundaries. You can't allow the social media to distract you when you're trying to work. You can't allow your coworker to keep interrupting you when you're trying to hand in your assignment to your boss. That's not going to serve you. The Saturn wants you to have the hard work, the discipline, the structure, and healthy boundaries, so that you can be the leader. You can be brave and courageous and be the pioneer maverick. So that's going to be to your benefit, to really implement disciplines and a strong schedule, so that you're taking charge of your health, right? The Neptune, that's there to keep you creative. That's there to, now Neptune's also disease. Pluto's virus, Neptune's disease. Saturn is the bones. So this can bring in the pain. And so this is where you're going to have to try to do different things and move your physical body more, Scorpio risings, okay? Take a break, get out there in the sun between 12 and 3. That's going to help. And you're gonna see the rewards for your discipline, for your work, okay? Maybe do some more writing for setting a schedule and plans. That can always help too. Libra risings, back to, almost the beginning. That's in your seventh house. So having the Saturn in the seventh house for this 2.5 years, this can delay things in the marketplace or contracts. This can make you less impulsive with business deals. This can solidify a new relationship or new marriage, right? To put in, good, structures in place. Saturn is like something that's more long-lasting, long-term. I think what's good about it too is that Saturn's coming in to make sure you're not getting all lulu la la in love with somebody, Libra risings. Oh my God, he's a firefighter and I just love men in uniform and this and that and da 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 blah 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 blah. But he's a binge drinker. He's like an alcoholic. Saturn is coming to make sure that you're not idealizing with the Neptune there to 2039. And my Libra risings, they tend to, I've seen so many that Aries seventh house, it's fool's gold. That's the hardest sister sign, the Libra Aries, in terms of like that Aries energy is not always, you're attracted to it, but it's not always good for you. And this can be with the fellas. You're attracted to that, competitive type A lady who's real, the sharpshooter, the spark plug. Same, you may not feel the Neptune, the compassion and the empathy. Just remember with this Saturn and Aries in the seventh house, it's going to talk about the partners you connect with, the people you do business with, the marriage partner, but it's also you in relation to them. So the Saturn is wanting you to have the healthy boundaries with others. Seventh house is the other half, but you can be the impulsive shopper. Seventh house is where we measure our rice, beans, and meat, and we go shopping. It's the kitchen. You don't need all new appliances. You just need a new cast iron skillet. You don't need to go buy the whole, thing, right? So just be mindful that this transit is really here. Because what happens when Aries slows down and gets more disciplined and structured and organized like Capricorn? It's unstoppable. It becomes that childhood genius. It becomes the pioneer maverick. It becomes that sovereign leader and warrior that everyone wants to follow. This is why Saturn is here at this time. And then even when the Saturn leaves, the Neptune is there to kind of show that Aries can become more compassionate and empathetic. And when it does, after the Saturn experience, it's now set to really be the sovereign, independent tribal leader that the collective needs. We need the wisdom of Pisces. We need the curiosity and the cleverness and the skills of Gemini. We need the discipline and hard work of Capricorn. We need the innovative thinking of Aquarius. We need the practical, pragmatic, stubborn, energy of Taurus. We need the service of humanity and the intuition and the health and the details of Virgo. We need the charm and the balance and the peace and making things aesthetically beautiful and relatable with the Libra, right? We need the loving and nurturing and caring from Cancer. We need the regal, like brave, creative leadership from Leo. We need the truth and the empathic, powerful energy of Scorpio. The regenerative and transformative energy of Scorpio. We need the passion and the expansion and the intelligence of Sag. So think of a Saturn transit of a 2.5-year time that it's polishing, refining, developing that sign to be its best version of itself. It's just a little bit more challenging in Aries because it's in its fall. Saturn Aries is like putting a freaking child or a pit bull in a cage. It's like, it's like, Aries is like, I gotta go, I gotta move. Saturn's like, no. I'm not gonna give you the key to unlock this door until you sweep and mop the floor. Did you clean the light switches first? Did you shower and comb your hair? What is your schedule and your plan for the day? And Aries has already got like welts on its head because it's banging up against the cage and it's like, get me out of here. I want to, understand. So just think of that as a Saturn transit and what it's going to do for you in your Aries house. And it's really going to make you more of a leader, more brave and courageous, more a completer of tasks, more organized. So that when you do assert and initiate, it's got substance behind it. It's got a ceiling and a floor and four walls. It's got structure behind it. If we just think of Saturn and Aries like that, this transit, we are going to flourish. And then we'll have to deal with Neptune by itself to 2039 and kind of recalibrate. But the Saturn, you see what the Saturn is doing? Right now, you've got the Neptune there by itself since January 26th. So you're kind of feeling whatever you've been feeling since then. And maybe start writing it down until February 13th. So you're just seeing, right? For the Scorpio, right? I'd be writing down my daily routine. So whatever house you have the Aries in, right? If it's in your fourth house, what's been going on in your home and emotional mind? Your second house, your earning money, your speech. Your first house, your I am. You know what I mean? So look at the house, the definition of the house, and see how you've been doing since January 26th, just with the Neptune there. And even from this day forward, just to the 13th, it's coming up soon, but you got a couple days to just journal and see. What are you experiencing? What are you feeling? Because when the Saturn comes in, it's coming to organize it, refine it, put structure and discipline with it. It's coming to make you see that the way to maneuver is with a slow, precise, structured, organized discipline that is going to give you the foundation to quantum leap into the Neptune dream. I think with Neptune Aries, after the Saturn leaves, you'll be able to initiate and manifest anything. Think of Saturn coming in to your head, eyes, and your crown and saying, if you spiritually implement my structure and my plans, my patience and my hard work, you think before you react and you slow down and you're not impulsive, whatever you initiate, I will give you. And that should be exciting to all of us. I'm not saying this is an easy transit, but Venus and Mercury in Pisces will help us have the poetic spiritual magic to endure. The Capricorn moon will have us have the emotional discipline and hard work to implement and complete whatever we need to get done. The Aquarius sun will make us not be selfish, think about our neighbors and our collective and our humanity, and think outside of the box with the fuel and the transformation energy of Mars and Pluto and Aquarius. The Uranus and Taurus will have us speaking authentically and be prepared to handle whatever's going on with our possessions and our resources and our food so that we can be prepared and ready to handle and survive it. This is a cosmic souffle, and it's all designed perfectly by God Source Creator energy so that each step and level is preparing us to graduate to the next set of experiences and karmic lessons that we need to learn so that we can thrive and soar. So we welcome a Saturn transit, and Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Aries, whatever house you have it in, let's get excited. Let's do it. You know what I mean? That's how we've got to embrace it. Because remember, at the end of the day, Saturn gives you more rewards and blessings than Jupiter and Venus ever can. once we've just honored it by slowing down, being structured, disciplined, organized, having a plan, right? Responding to our abilities. The responsibility for Aries is to what? Be brave and courageous, to be the pioneer maverick, to assert, to compete, to initiate. You know any Aries that are in their 40s or 50s or whatever that, I got Aries buddies. They are giant kids. Aries has the energy of like 10 men. And I'm just talking about the ladies. Aries men have the energy of 20 men. You know what I mean? Like it is really, I mean, my father was an Aries. I lost him, he was 45, but like they are the fountain of youth. And so now this Saturn's coming in to just refine it so that they can move a little bit more precise, a little bit more like that Jedi to guide us through the rest of 26, 27, and 28. These are powerful years. We got a lot that we got to deal with and a lot of change. Saturn is letting you know you got to pay attention. Clarity in your head. You've got to have your head on a swivel. You've got to be the soldier, the warrior. You've got to be brave and courageous. And you got to be ready to deal and handle anything that comes your way. So what Saturn in Pisces, and I've been screaming this to y'all for the last, 2.5 years and before it came, it was teaching us to have the healthy boundaries. It was teaching us to have our spiritual discipline and practice. It was teaching us to have compassion, empathy, grace, and mercy for ourselves first. So then now we can step into this new stage and this new beginning, this fire horse, universal 1 year, Saturn, Neptune, Aries, Uranus, Gemini, Pluto, Aquarius. This is a new world, a new landscape. And that masculine energy of Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, and Jupiter. June 30th, Jupiter's coming in Leo for a year. This is not a time to be passive. So literally, when you're like think like the Jedi, think like like Bruce Lee, like each movement, right? I think of the Qigong, like we've got to be precise. Our intentionality with our thoughts and our words, what we put in our mouths, our body, our steps. Go set that timer on your phone and just go walk in your house up and down the hallway for 30 minutes if it's too cold to get outside. Right? Aquarius rising, Saturn, Neptune, third house. You can't go walk in the local community. It's 5 degrees outside. Keep your butt inside. Walk up and down that hallway, set the timer for 30 minutes, put on your favorite song, and get to walking. Do you see what I'm saying? Respond to your abilities. Saturn will try to restrict you. But Aries has got to be the pioneer maverick to think outside the box, to figure it out, to be like, you know what, that's okay. I can walk in my home. I can set up a new schedule and plan for my sleep. I could set up a new thing for a new education or new mentorship program that I'm teaching. I can set up a thing for a family trust and will in the 8th house and start to get some Silogene and sea moss and burdock root, right? I could set up things in my 6th house where, I'm squatting every day and I'm doing this and I'm putting my cell phone away after I make a post and then I'm not looking at it for the rest of the day. Saturn Aries is here to help us. Okay. So any questions for any of your ascendants or anything like that? We've still got some time, but I really feel that, this is to our benefit. everything happens for us, not to us. You know what I mean? And that's got to be exciting. Any
I have
thoughts?
a question.
Yes, of
When
course.
did Saturn enter into Aries the
When did
first
Saturn
time?
what?
When did Saturn enter into Aries the first time?
The last time?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are in 2026. So 90, I think it was 95.
Well, the brief entry, because didn't it enter into Aries briefly last year?
Oh yeah. Just in the it was I thought you meant the last time like 30 years ago. No, it was just there in this in the fall for a few months. So
Okay.
it was there because
Was
we
it there in June?
in June. Oh God, you'd have to check. I we did a coffee talk on. I can't remember though. I want to
Okay,
say
I can't remember
I want
either.
to say after June. I want to say it was like because it went back into Pisces. Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, I think it probably was in June.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
because I came across a group, and when I was introduced to them by Kendra, I felt the connection, and they were talking all spiritual, and I'm like, oh, okay, and oh, I might like these people. I think this is the tribe right here. And that was in June. I started working for the lady. And over the course of the months, things just started to transpire, and I started to see things that did not align with my beliefs and my values.
yeah,
And then I want to say October, things got a bit weird, but by the end of the year, I was not working there anymore. The whole group kind of just turned their back on me. They didn't like that because at first I was quiet, which normally I am
yeah.
until I get used to people. And so when I started speaking up, I started to see changes in the way they were talking to me and acting toward me. They didn't like that I was vocal and I wasn't pretty much going along with whatever they were saying and doing. And I'm
And
like, yeah, I'm
you
not
know
doing
that
that.
that's not
No, that's
you know that's not an authentic and right group. See, and that's why I'm so intentional about our tribe in terms of like, you know, I never want to be in a position that I ever mislead anybody, you
yeah,
know? And so for me, that's why I love the transparency, but I love the collectiveness that the tribe is it's ours because it's what we make it. When we all show up and come to a meeting and listen to Janice or Queen Bee or Portia or me and Vanessa last night, it's to benefit all of us. And
yes,
each meeting may be, different for each person. And this one may bless you more, and the other one, you're like, oh, that was nice, but I didn't resonate with it as much. But the key is that every voice matters, right? That's
yes,
why I wanted to, create and hopefully we all get more interactive with the Buddy Boss because I want us to literally move as that group to support one another, right? If Lewis is selling the Imperium or the whatever thing, whatever, we get it with him. If we need to get a certain herb, we get it with Janice. If we need to, learn something about, the numerology, we do with Queen Bee. If you and Gigi are creating something that, we learn from you guys and watch that and support that. That's what it's about because when we unite and we build together, we all win. And I just, I don't understand a world or society the way it has been. It's very selfish, and as I always say, capitalism does not breed humanism, right? And so I guess I've always wanted a group like this because I've always wanted a world like this, right? This like, and not to be like all spiritual woohoo, like, oh, utopian society. It's not that, because I'm like I'm a real cat, so it's not that, but yeah, we can have each other's back. We can care about each other and be compassionate. We can lift up and pray for Cheryl or Mama Miss or someone's in a time of need. We can wish each other happy birthday and celebrate. We could share love and positive things, and that's those are the groups that you want to be a part of because it allows you
Yeah.
to 110% be Quintella, right? For Kendra to
And
be
I think that's what that
Kendra.
transit was teaching me. Now that you're going over this, that's why I was thinking back, like, oh, that transit was teaching me that. Not everybody who comes off as spiritual is on the same
No, yeah.
path, because everybody's spiritual means different. So,
No, it does, and it's shocking and surprising. And
Yes,
I
but
try
you
to hold
know,
compassion for even, people that I don't necessarily agree with or whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I mean,
yep,
that's hard. I know what
because
you're
the
saying.
spirituality always tries to teach us that everything is love and light, and then you find out, well, it isn't always love and light. So that's
yep,
what we
yep,
need to bring
You're
out.
right, Gail. Yeah.
yep, you're right.
Because we all have that yin yang, the high vibration, the
Right.
low vibration, right? I mean, there's times when I'm not proud of my Capricorn moon if I say something mean or yell at the boys, but one thing, and this is what I told you guys before, that I'm so thankful, and I've really learned this from Alana, and this is why I definitely have such respect for the Pisces energy, sun, moon, or rising, or just whatever, to be father enough and man enough to go back and apologize. And I say, listen, buddy, I didn't like what you were saying or doing. And so the way I reacted was kind of harsh, so I apologize for that. But you cannot say XYZ or talk that way to your brother or to your mother. You know what I mean? And
Mm,
so there's a way to teach, there's a way to admit to being wrong. Because that's big when you can apologize to your kids and say that you were wrong as an adult. You need
yeah.
to have that bond and connection. It keeps it very, you know what I mean? Because then they're like, wow, dad told me he was sorry. Dad said something mean to me, but he didn't really mean it and he apologized for it. That's huge, you know?
Mm,
And that's the thing. Don't take anything for granted that it's such a little thing. Saturn and Aries, it's like it's a big thing to think before you react. These are words and
mhm.
terms that we say, but when you actually do it, that's huge. To not be impulsive, right? To really like, okay, let me think about this, maybe even write something out. Then how should I move? That's a whole different version of you and a different energy, right? That the universe will respond to. There's power in that. And that's for all of us with Saturn and Aries. I'm really excited. I think that I'm excited because I know that we're, you know, the world's crazy right now, right? Let's keep it real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Right.
every day I'm just like, what? Like, but like Saturn and Aries is gonna show us like how do we like, how do we really move in this? So I'm excited, and I'm glad that you got away from that group, and I'm so glad you're part of the tribe because, I hate to think that there's people out there that are not just misleading others, but like having agendas. And that's the other thing with Saturn Neptune, especially this
Yeah,
29th
yeah.
degree. It's going to show those false teachings and those false this and that. You know what I mean? And Neptune and Aries is showing us where we have been deceived from the
Hmm.
Neptune Pisces, So Neptune Aries, the first little bit of it is, especially even with the Saturn coming in, it's to kind of give us this reality check, like, no, like Hollywood isn't good. Like
What is the 27 Club?
Oh, remember? So Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse,
Jimi Hendrix too, I
Jimi
believe.
Hendrix, yeah. So Club
Um,
27, Mars matures between 27 and 28 years old. And so it could be a very volatile time in a human's life. And so
oh,
sometimes people, they can crash and burn and not make it past that time.
oh,
So those are the famous people that all, some mysteriously and just a lot, died at that age, 27. And that's quite a few.
oh.
When you think about it,
Yeah.
that's a lot of people. I want to do Amy.
I'm ready for this transit.
I am too. And I was going to say, I want to do Amy Winehouse's chart. I think that would be kind of interesting. You got it. All right. Bye, you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
On the replay. Bye.